Ladies and gentlemen, I take pride in introducing the greatest show on earth.
Hi, everybody. This is Scott Gordon, and welcome to the Uncle Floyd podcast number 69. And as was said in the movie MASH, 69 is divine. And here we go. We're going to answer a whole bunch of questions. I got a bunch of questions from everybody this week. So we're going to get into those in a minute, but let's listen to the end of the music with the Vivino Brothers Band playing the Uncle Floyd theme. We got a load of questions from everybody this week. If you want to get questions in for next week, it's real easy. All you have to do is send them to ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. That's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. And we'll answer them for you. Or I'll answer them for you. Or somebody will answer them for you. I hope it's me, but we'll find out. All right, got a bunch of interesting ones, have to do with the show and technology and music and all sorts of other crazy stuff. This is from Ed Deckert. Hey, Scott, how did the Eagle Rock Studio get the nickname the Spooky House? Well, that's very interesting, Ed. It was haunted. That place was haunted. If you were there late at night and there was not much going on, there were noises. There were things making sounds like doors opening and closing and footsteps and everything else. There's a rumor it was a woman, an older woman. I don't remember what they called her. They gave her a name, but I don't remember what it was. That's the Spooky House idea. And following up that from Dennis DeLeo, hey, Scott, what's the deal with the house that was the headquarters for the Uncle Floyd show for many years across from the Eagle Rock Reservation? I remember Tim and I drove by WBTB 5 or 6 times when Blades and Bagels first appeared in 1976. We had no idea that this old private house was a television studio. How did that place become a TV studio? Somebody bought the house when the original owners decided to sell it, and they made a TV studio out of it. It was a perfect place for it. It was way up on a hill, so they could put a transmitter up there and get the TV signal out. Which gives rise to your next question. Weren't you guys afraid that the big antenna out back would give out radiation? Yeah, everything gives out radiation. You'd be amazed how much radiation you're under right now. You know, it's between all the RF signals for radio, television, Wi-Fi, cell phones, and everything else. I'm amazed we're not fried. I really am. But we weren't afraid of it because of the fact that the transmitter itself, the antenna that transmitted, was on top of the tower. The tower itself didn't transmit, just the antenna on top. That's the only thing that gave out radiation. Were you still doing there when Wometco bought the station? Yes. Yeah, Wometco bought the station. The house itself was not owned by WBTB or WTVG or WWHT or any of those. It was owned by a gentleman by the name of Adam Sadlon. Adam Sadlon owned that building, and he owned the tower. He rented the tower out to governmental agencies and things like that. We were not the only thing on that tower. There were other things as well. I think the tower is still there, if I'm not mistaken. Robbie Sadlon, his son, was one of our cameramen for years. This is from Tim Ramsdell of Spring Lake Heights. He said, I loved it when the crew got involved in sketches like on-the-spot racing. Did you and the rest of the gang stay in touch with people like Doreen and Diane and the camera women? Yes, we stayed in touch with just about everybody. You can be in touch with anybody on Facebook. They're all there. Doreen's there. Diane is no longer with us, but a lot of the people who were camera people and technicians on the show are still there, are still on Facebook. And when we run across them, we say hi and things like that. We don't run into each other. This is from Mike Anderson, formerly of Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey. My question is regarding a collection of pictures on the wall that may be available in a book format. Can you update me on the plans or availability for something like that? Well, it's a little bit complicated. We would have to get permission from everybody who sent in a picture to use their picture. If we don't get permission, we can't use it. Legally, we're not allowed to. Publishers will not accept it unless we have release signed by the people who made those pictures. Kind of out of the question. I have an entire box of pictures that I saved from the TV show. From Jeff Siegel. When you guys were on the NBC O&Os, did they ever censor any bits, sketches, and if so, which ones? Thanks. No, we never dealt with them personally. The syndicators edited the shows. We basically did shows for Channel 68. They took what we did for Channel 68 and edited it and made the syndicated shows. That's how that worked. We programmed for Channel 68, and they used what they wanted to in the syndicated shows. They would edit it around. They would have the guests come in, and that's the way it happened. This is from Matt DiLorenzo of New York City. A few weeks back, you mentioned that the show consciously adjusted some things based on the time of day that the shows aired. No, the show didn't do it. The syndicators did it. They made packages, individual packages, with stuff they thought was suitable for more adult audiences, for the evening shows, and for the younger audiences, for the stations that aired them in the morning. We got into a lot of trouble when the people who sent out the tapes sent the wrong tapes to the wrong stations. You know, it was just their judgment. We had no say on it, and we didn't see a lot of the other stations. We didn't see a lot of the ones other than the ones that were on Channel 68 or on Channel 4. I saw some of the ones that were on WSBK, Channel 38 from Boston, because of the fact that my cable company carried WSBK. This is from Anthony. You mentioned there were several incarnations of the Uncle Floyd show. I remember in 1989 he sat behind a desk and highlighted rock and roll bands. Around 1993-94, he did Uncle Floyd's New Jersey, where he went around to different towns. I can remember about 10 or so, one being my hometown of Hawthorne. And he was funny in those. I haven't seen them since. How many were there, and are you still able to see them? I have no idea. I know some of them are on YouTube. And if you search Uncle Floyd's New Jersey, you might find them. They may just be listed under the names of the individual towns. I know he went to Belleville. I know he went to Wayne. I know he went to Fairlawn and East Patterson at the time. After that incarnation, was that when you did the final 100 shows for Cablevision in 1998? I've seen a version from 2018 where he went around Glen Rock and Bloomfield, but it seemed like he did that one on his own. Well, Anthony, everything was done on our own. We did everything, and the syndicators found us and had us come in, and New Jersey Network had us come in, but everything else was done by us. All the CTN stuff, we put up the money. Nobody else did it. Floyd sold the advertisement. He went out on the road and, like a salesperson, knocking on doors, going into stores, saying, hey, I've got something I want you to hear. I've got an idea to make money for you. I've got a show called The Uncle Floyd Show. Sometimes they knew him, sometimes they didn't. From Charlotte Quinn, I get vibes of Johnny Carson when I watch and hear Bones Boy. Is that just my wacky imagination, or was Mr. Carson an influence? I really don't know. Bones Boy was Floyd's character. He came up with it, and I can see what you're saying. The fact that Bones Boy has one hand in a pocket and he's standing there with the grin on like he is, kind of reminds me of Johnny Carson. You may be right. It might have been in Floyd's head that Johnny Carson was the model for it. From Kevin Dillon. Hi, Scott. What make and model was that car Floyd drove in the opening credits? I assume you're talking about the yellow one. That was a 1971 Plymouth Valiant. If you search on Plymouth Valiant on the internet, you'll be able to see a picture of it. I think it was 1971. It was someplace in there. Whatever happened to that car? Well, when Floyd was tired of that car, when he no longer wanted it, he sold it to Muggsy real cheap because Muggsy needed a car. And what was the first car you ever owned? Well, the first car I ever drove was one that my father had for years. It was a 1950 Ford Crestliner V8, flathead V8 engine. A very interesting car. It was a 6-volt positive ground system, which means I couldn't find radios or anything else to put in it. But the first car I owned, I bought myself, was a 1963 Triumph TR3 sports car. And that's what I drove my senior year in high school. And I blew the transmission on it. So that was it. This is from John and Mary of Spring Lake Heights. We know Floyd was very private when it came to many matters, but how could you describe his politics? Do you think he leaned left or right? And do you think he had a favorite political figure, past or present? Floyd and I both had a very, very serious thing that we went by. With an audience, we never, ever discussed our politics. We did not discuss it. Muggsy did political stuff. We did not. The reason being is, when you're going out and booking a show for yourself to perform, if you've leaned one way or the other, you couldn't do an audience of the opposite lean. Let's say you made fun of the Democrats. You wouldn't get hired for a Democratic political function or for anything that was honoring any of the political figures of the Democratic Party. Vice versa. If you made fun of the Republicans, you couldn't go and do anything for the Republicans. They wouldn't hire you. So you're cutting off half your audience. So I'm going to respect that and not answer the question. This is from Anthony LaSalle. I can remember going to the Bottom Line on Halloween to see one of your live shows. It must have been October 1979. I was there with a bunch of my friends. We had a table close to the stage. Let's just say there was a big cloud of smoke around our table. Looney Skip Rooney came over to our table and said, "You guys are going to get us kicked out of here." He gave Rooney a light-up skeleton that he bought at a McCrory's 5 and 10, and we used it as a prop during the show. Bottom Line was a great place to work. I hope you people out there have found the Bottom Line book. The name of the book is Positively Fourth and Mercer, and it's the story of the Bottom Line. Alan Pepper and Billy Altman have put that together. There's some photographs in there. There's an interview with Floyd and an interview with me where we talk about the times that we were there. It's a good book. You should read it. It's a little bit of New York City musical history that I think everybody who is interested in that kind of stuff should read. From Arthur Ford. For the Ridiculous But Real segment of the show on New Jersey Network, where someone from the studio audience would appear and answer a question for a prize, was it Floyd's idea or something NJN wanted? Who wrote the questions? Do you know where the name Ridiculous But Real came from? Was there ever a case where the audience members said something so inappropriate it had to be edited out? Did you guys like doing the segment, or was it more of a nuisance? It was fun. It was fun to do. I got to announce most of the people coming out because I could pronounce their names without messing them up. Some of the other guys had trouble with the more exotic names. We figured we had an audience. New Jersey Network wanted to have an audience come in and see the show. So we figured, hey, we've got these people here. Let's have them do some stuff. Let's get them up here and ask them a question, give them a prize. We've got some things we can give away. We can give records and stuff like that away, T-shirts. So it was just fun for us to do. We had fun with the people, and it gave another idea for people to come into the studio. They wanted to try and get on the air. Floyd and I would look at the people in the audience, and if we saw somebody very, very interesting looking, or, we'd talk to them during the breaks, and if we found somebody interesting, we'd ask them if they want to come up. He says, also, if you'd like to answer, you've spoken very little about your experience as a psychic entertainer. Though you brought it up indirectly on the podcast once, you've spoken much more about your music, magic, and, of course, comedy. Is there anything about your experience as a psychic entertainer you would be comfortable to share? I'm one of the founders of a group called the Psychic Entertainers Association, which is a group of performing mentalists, psychics, and mystery entertainers. That could include people who do, like, semi-geek magic and things like that. It's a bunch of guys who were not really recognized well by the magic fraternity. And I enjoyed doing things where I would go to a Halloween party and I'd get people sitting around and I'd do a fake seance and just drive them crazy. A bunch of us got together, 5 of us got together and said, hey, look, why don't we start a club? And right now it's a very, very large organization of performers in mentalism, psychic, hypnotism, and what's known as bizarre magic, where you do very strange things. That's what I did. I did what was known as bizarre magic. I haven't done it much lately, but I still do it once in a while at parties. I have some fun. And if you'd like to find out more about it, you can go to p-e-a.org. p-e-a.org. PEA is Psychic Entertainers Association. And if you look at the About, you'll see a picture of the 5 founders, which includes myself and my wife, Diane. She's one of the founders as well. She was the first secretary. I was the first vice president of the organization. We still belong, and we still get together with some of the people every once in a while. This is from Hal G. Hal, one of my music buddies. Hal is probably one of the most phenomenal musicians I know. And he does some really great novelty stuff. I'm very much into novelty music. I was wondering if you recall what your first bit on camera was on the Floyd show. Is it saved to your VHS collection? Well, my first bit was done on October 12th of 1976. And I did a hack Shakespearean actor by the name of Sir John Watercress, who came on and did the opening soliloquy for Richard III. I came out and did it, and it was part of the Joe Frankfurter sketch that Floyd did at that time. And basically it's, now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this son of York. Well, and goes on from there. I was very impressed with your gypsy jazz track you recorded at home. I know you played all the parts, but was the fiddle part just loops, or did you play the part into your computer with a fiddle sound? That was a keyboard. That was a sample track that I controlled with a keyboard. As a matter of fact, the one I used on that is an 88-key MIDI controller. I played the part, and I played it a lot slower than it was. I'm not that good at keys. When you have a computer to help you out, you can play slowly and then cram everything together and make it a lot faster. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, let me play one right now for you that's heavy on the keys and not so much on the guitar. The guitar is the backup instrument. Guitar is my instrument, but this is piano, and I'll play it right now for you. title of that was Hoping for a Jaybird. I just found some sounds I wanted to play around with, and I did play around with them, and it's nothing spectacular as far as I'm concerned, but it's just some noodling around in the studio. And I hope you liked it. From Grumpy. In podcast number 68, you were talking about your studio. Do you ever get jobs requesting the use of the analog equipment? Are you a fan of home hi-fi equipment and music listening, or strictly the technology and sound quality as it relates to the studio? I have the analog equipment, and very few people even ask about it. They don't ask about it if I have it, if I can use it. It's there. If anybody does ask, I did use it. That's how we produced a lot of the stuff that was done for the Italian-American Serenade was all done on analog initially, before the stations didn't want to run tape anymore. They said, no, let's go, let's change it, we'll do MP3. MP3 is good enough. So we had to change to MP3, but I personally like analog. As far as home hi-fi equipment, I do have some home hi-fi equipment, but I don't use it. I'm down in the studio. I have really good speakers down here, and I have 2 turntables and 2 CD players. Actually, I have 4 CD players. 2 of them are recorders. I come down here and listen. I have the speakers tuned to be precise, and that's the way I like to listen to music. Also from Grumpy, since at least one of your listeners is a keen-eared detective picking up the sound of your glucose monitoring system in the background, you better not eat any beans before recording future podcasts. Grumpy. Shame on you. Making a bean joke? How dare you? How dare you make a bean joke? Besides that, Floyd would have laughed like crazy at that joke. So that's the name of that. From Andrew M. Sauchi. Scott, I've been using an old Lafayette microphone, 1/4-inch plug, with an old Toshiba amplifier from the 1970s to record voice tracks for my internet radio station, and it works okay. But it's a bit of a cumbersome setup. The amplifier is mighty heavy, and I've had enough electrical appliances suddenly one day go poof, followed by a nasty odor that I'd like to have another plan in place for when that happens. Can you recommend a good USB microphone that I can also plug directly into the computer? Yeah, I can. There is a USB version of the Shure SM7 microphone. I'm not sure exactly what the designation is. It may be an SM7U or something like that. I use SM7Bs in the studio. I also use Neumann microphones. I'm using a Neumann right now to talk to you. Floyd always talked on an SM7 or an SM7B, depending on which one I happen to have set up at the time. That was a great microphone. They make a USB version, which is excellent. If you want to go a little bit further than that, I think Presonus makes one. There's quite a few out there. If you see the well-known microphone names as a USB microphone, chances are they're pretty good. Okay, that's the best I can tell you. But I would go for the Shure SM7. That's about the best sounding one, and it's a very, very flexible microphone. From Susie Tannenbaum. We've heard that with the exception of the NJN years and maybe also syndication, you guys hardly earned anything from performing on the Uncle Floyd Show. What motivated the cast to continue with the show? I imagine you all enjoyed improvising off each other's talent. You had a whole lot of devoted followers, and the show was a way to promote upcoming gigs. Were there other reasons? Well, in an earlier podcast, I discussed my reason, which is pretty heavy, and we won't get into it. I'm not sure exactly which number podcast it is, but it's one of I think it's one of the first 15 or 20 of the podcasts. So if you haven't heard the earlier ones with Floyd in it, there's one that's not Floyd, that doesn't have Floyd in it because he was having some testing done and we couldn't get a podcast done in the rehab facility. I talked about my reason for staying with the show. I almost quit 5 years in. Been there 50. What can I say? And how did you all make a living? We know that Floyd did live shows And you had sound engineering business. What about Muggsy, Dave, Charlie, Netto, and Weenie? I can't answer for anybody else. That's their private life. I'm not about to say what they had to do to afford a home and pay for the family and food and everything else. But I did several things. I not only did the sound business, I also sold computers. I worked at Ken's Magic Shop at the beginning of the show. I sold home stereos. I sold home electronics. I sold professional electronics. And I was a movie theater manager and projectionist for a while because I could fix the new computerized projectors that they use. And I lost that job during COVID when they closed all the theaters down. So I was still working in the regular jobs. And we all performed. And that was it. And that's going to lead into this from Michael Lepowski. I loved all of Floyd's music. Are there any albums available today anywhere? Yeah, there's albums available. I think I missed a question. There was one question that I saw. I didn't say. I'm going through the papers now. And yeah, I did. I missed this one. And I apologize to Pam McPherron for skipping her question. But it fits right into what we're talking about here, which is the music of the show. And Pam McPherron says, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Pam. I love the opening theme of the show. It always makes me happy hearing it. Is it possible to buy it as a ringtone? Just the music, not the ladies and gentlemen part, though. Well, the ladies and gentlemen part, that's Danny Kaye. That has nothing to do with the Uncle Floyd show. I just put that together. The stuff from the Uncle Floyd show I've edited and moved around, except for the Uncle Floyd theme. As a matter of fact, I've used this once in a while.
Up-ho! What do you know? It's polka time!
Yep, that's it. The Walt Pazuski, I Love to Polka, Come Polka With Me, Happy Program, TV Time, Hour, Half Hour. As far as being a ringtone, I make my own ringtones. All you have to do is get an MP3 and load it onto your phone and tell your phone that's what you want to use as the ringtone. It's actually very easy to do. So if you can find a copy of that, when I do this, record the theme and cut it, make it an MP3, put it in as your ringtone, and you have your own ringtone. That's what I would do. As a matter of fact, when I had Floyd in my phone, that's what I did. I used the theme of the show as the ringtone. Michael Lepowski. I loved all of Floyd's music. Are there any albums available today anywhere? Michael, there's the Uncle Floyd Show album, which we put out on Mercury Records. You can find that probably on eBay. Every once in a while it shows up. The Bioya singles, they show up. They haven't been really put on an album. We put them together as a giveaway for fundraising on WFDU. But as far as albums are concerned, Floyd used to make little albums as a way of making money. So this fits in with the other questions we just had. And what we'll do is we'll close with a cut from one of those albums. And this was an album that he put out, and he would do it as a for-hire thing. Like if there was a politician or a local celebrity or a local commissioner of some sort, this one is from a commissioner, he would put a bunch of songs on it, like I'm My Own Grandpa, Deep in the Heart of Jersey, the Hello song, Tony the Iceman, I'm My Own Grandpa, Shaving Cream, I Like Jersey Best, the Lottery song and the Holiday song, and even did Dominic the Donkey on there. And he would do one single cut on there for the celebrity, the person who was celebrating a birthday or an anniversary or a promotion or whatever. Someone would hire him to do this, and they'd give them out at these parties, and Floyd would perform at the parties. So this particular one I have was done for Alan Levine. Now, Alan Levine was the commissioner of the Passaic Valley Water Commission, who has that big, I'm lost for the word, big water feature, a giant water feature in Haskell, up in that area, up on the mountain that feeds Patterson. It feeds the water to Patterson and the area around reservoir. That's the word I'm looking for. And see, senior moments. We all have them once you get to my age. And he would make a song up for the individual and put it on the CD that would be given out or sold to raise money at this party. And this is the one he did for Alan Levine. And Alan Levine also owned Levine Paper, which made boxes, Levine Box and Paper Company. He was the commissioner of the Passaic Valley Water Commission. And this was for some celebration for him. I'm not sure which one it was, and we'll close out today with that. But I want to remind you, if you want to get a question in, please send it to ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. It's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. You get it here. I read it like I just read everybody's question here. And we'll have fun. We'll hear all the stupid little facts that I remember about the show. And some of the facts I don't remember that maybe you remember and you send me in and remind me. That would be a good thing to do, too. Also, every night at 8, we have a date. We have This Was the Uncle Floyd Show, where I host it live, and we show clips of the old TV show, and we answer questions there that are typed into the chat log. And we have a great time doing that as well. Tuesday night at 8, we have a date. You can get that at theunclefloydshow.tv, theunclefloydshow.tv. And you never know what I'm going to show. I may have a cut of the Ramones coming up. I don't know. I haven't done it yet for this week, so I have no idea what I'm going to do. So right now, this is from the album that was made for Mr. Alan Levine. And it's Alan Levine, the King of Patterson. And I'll see you next time on the Uncle Floyd Podcast.
Alan Levine, King of Patterson. He was born in the city of Patterson, son of a famous politician. He runs his own Tammany Hall in winter, spring, summer, and fall. Alan Levine, King of Patterson. He's known to many as the commish, and in his reservoir you'll find no fish. He controls your water, it tastes so good, like we all thought it never would. Alan Levine, King of Patterson. He'll make you a box of any size, for legitimate business or for the wise guys. His company is famous and big. He likes to tell jokes about Uncle Floyd's wig. Alan Levine, the King of Patterson. He spends his evenings at the horse race track. He picks the ponies back to back. He'll give you a tip on a winner true, and if you're a lady, he'll give his tip to you. Alan Levine, the King of Patterson. His language is often coarse and crude. You better stay away if you're a prude. He don't care about the words he'll say, but he speaks the truth, you can bet your pay. Alan Levine, the King of Patterson. He's on the phone nearly all the time, trying to turn a nickel into a dime. He's totally legit and honest as Abe, unless he's talking to a pretty babe. Alan Levine, the King of Patterson. He has many friends in City Hall. He has many others behind four walls. He doesn't care what you say or do. As long as you're his friend, he'll be there just for you. Alan Levine, the king of Patterson. He can be tough and pretty mean. He once shoved a man into a latrine. He's given his money to charities true, and if you're in trouble, he'll lend a hand to you. Alan Levine, the king of Patterson.
This program was produced in the studios of Scott Gordon Enterprises, Incorporated in Paramus, New Jersey.